Item number 3.
2017-27, appropriation for $82,144 for the supervisory union salary increases.
The chair recognizes Mr. Walker from the mayor's office.
Thank you again, Mr. President. Just very briefly, this is similar to a number of other appropriation requests that have come before the body in the last several months, reflecting contractual agreements with the various bargaining units within the city. This is for the superior union salary increases. This money was appropriated in the budget. As everyone knows, this was reserved for appropriation. The budget represents a 1% increase for the previous fiscal year and a 2% increase for the current fiscal year.
Thank you. And given the fact, as a reminder, obviously, that this was something that existed in the budget at times, contracts are in the midst of negotiation. That's the purpose of the reserve appropriation. I'd certainly entertain a motion that we pass that this evening. But the chair recognizes Councilor Gall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can't really add much perspective to that. I believe the mayor's representative did a great job outlining exactly what it was. I think more importantly than when we took a vote on the budget for the FY17 outlay, this was part of the reserve for appropriation. So with that, I would move approval.
We have a move to approval, seconded by Councilor Calmucci. No discussion on the motion. Chair recognizes Councilor Calmucci.
Thank you. Through you to the mayor's representative, or perhaps the auditor. This was the exact amount that we appropriated. I don't have my budget book in front of me.
Council, there was a overall, through you, Mr. President, I'm sorry. There was an overall number reflecting what would be needed for all of the unions based upon a projection of 1% and 2%. This 82,000 reflects that reflects that.
So did we come in above, at, below the total number as we've resolved? I think this is the second or third contract that's been resolved.
Yeah, we still have a few to go. No reason to believe at this time that we will be above the appropriation request. Again, the amount was based upon what had been settled at that time. The contracts and the contracts throughout the system are reflecting those identical increases, the 1% for fiscal 2017 and the 2% for fiscal 2017.
I can only imagine the difficulty of having to negotiate with the remaining unions when there's clearly an item, a chunk of money that we've set aside for the raises, to suggest you can't go to some amount when they know the budget's set aside in that amount. But it probably works the other way as well, because they know we can't, you're unlikely to negotiate a contract that goes above that set amount. So you're kind of shooting in the middle there, I imagine.
I guess for you, Mr. President, I'm a little reluctant to get into negotiating tactics.
That wasn't a question for us. I don't know why you're talking right now. That was more of a statement than anything. But these are tied, the supervisory union salaries are tied to those they supervise, and those are similar.
Correct. Correct. And supervisory, and for folks that don't know, councils that may not know, supervisory is with a clerical union at City Hall. It represents mostly folks in City Hall and some of the other administrative departments. So there's one union that represents one level of clerical workers, and this is the union that represents the other level of clerical workers within the city.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? Chair recognizes Councilor DeBona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just on this, so we're going to retrospect this back to 2016, July 1st, is that correct?
That is
correct.
Through you, Mr. President, that is correct.
And furthermore, into the next year, are we going with the 17.2%? What are we doing in 18? Or what is happening in 18?
18 in these contracts is a 2% as well.
And is it further than that as well? Is it 19, 20?
A lot of these agreements, Councilor, there have been two joint agreements that have been settled concurrently. One's 3-year. We're only allowed to do 3-year contracts at a time. So there's a 3-year contract and a 2-year contract that follows that we've, or a 2-year contract and a 3-year contract, I'm sorry. There was a discussion, there was an appetite amongst bargaining units to create a level of predictability going forward. So between the mayor's work, the human resources department, their work, and then the bargaining units, there was a agreement to come up with 2 separate bargaining agreements, which will take us through 5 years, which budgetarily is a help because it gives us a good predictor of what we're going to be facing in the coming years.
Just to elaborate a little bit on the unions in general across the city of all the different departments, are you trying to keep kind of that level, same increments, 1, 2, 2? Is that kind of across the board what you're trying to stay at for other unions as well?
Yeah. Without getting too far into detail, Councilor, without getting into the negotiating side of it, yes. You know, in fact, that's something the mayor's been clear. There are things we can talk about at the negotiating table that aren't necessarily the cost of living increases that we provide our employees, which are well deserved. So that the financial part of it is something that everyone is well aware of, has been well aware of. If those issues can't be resolved, there's a process that takes that place. We've been very fortunate over the last 8 years to have such great cooperation and coordination with the folks that work for the city. We hope and expect that will continue, but there are always issues.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion of the motion? Seeing none, if the clerk could call the roll.
Council King.
Yes.
Council Crowe.
Yes.
Council DeBon.
Yes.
Councilor Paris.
Yes.
Councilor Forrest.
Yes.
Council Leeang.
Yes.
Council Calhoun.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Unanimous.